Welcome to the Climate Trends podcast. I'm Archana Chaudhary, Associate Director at Climate Trends and the editorial board member at the Carbon Copy. In this episode, we're talking about the Mumbai Climate Week. This is an event that's been described as India's first citizen-led climate movement. And my guest today is Shishir Joshi, the founder of Project Mumbai and the key force behind Mumbai Climate Week. Welcome, Shishir.
Thank you so much, Archana. Lovely being here.
Today, we'll talk about what it really means to build a people-first climate platform in a city as complex as Mumbai, and whether initiatives like this can go beyond just awareness and drive actual change, especially in a country like India, which is poised at a very important place in history right now, and given the geopolitical events that we are surrounded by. A climate movement at such a time is in itself a very important moment or feels like one. Let's dive right into it. Shishir, let's start with your work on Project Mumbai and around this hyper-local civic interventions that you're known for, whether it's library corners and mental health helplines, etc. How did that DNA evolve into something as ambitious as a Mumbai Climate Week?
Thank you. First, let me also say that the Mumbai Climate Week is not just India's, but globally a very unique climate conversation, which we hope leads into a movement and an ongoing conversation for sure. Project Mumbai, in that sense, is no different. It's just that we see Mumbai as a country in itself. And as a model of public private people partnership, we believe that this city has a lot that most other cities do not. There's a madness and a chaos and a romance that the city brings, and there's an excitement that people of the city want to do something. And Project Mumbai, as a model of public-private people partnership, is very rightly placed to ensure that citizens feel a sense of ownership. They would like to intervene, they would like to help, and they would like to feel empowered. So, unlike a lot of non-profits, which are only into a specific area, Project Mumbai is into everything that the city requires. As you mentioned, there's mental health, there's inclusion, trying to make the city more friendly for the elderly, including citizens in everything that you do, and then there's sustainability. But what we also felt is in everything that we do, there's always been so many hands that go up to say, I would like to be a part of that. And that's where we also sense that there is a kindness born in everyone. And as we started working towards it, while some of these are the verticals we work on, volunteerism stays horizontal. And volunteerism through the space of kindness. And while our tagline that we started off in Hindi, as we say, Mumbai ke liye kuch bhi karega, was how we started off, we kind of altered it a bit to say, kuch pal apne shahar ke liye. That means a bit of your time for the city, which does not mean only Mumbai, but any urban space that you live in. And along those lines, we said, when people start giving time, it's not money we need, it's the time that we need. Can we make Mumbai the country's kindness capital? And this kindness is what we want to drive into the space of sustainability, into the space of climate action. And that's how the Mumbai Climate Week is almost like a kindness experiment that's shaping out.
That's an interesting way to kind of explain what Mumbai Climate Week is for you. And you're also calling it a movement. But then define what this event is going to do, because who is moving, who is leading? You're saying people come together, volunteerism. But how do you measure this when the dust settles? What will that look like?
So let me add one point here that it's important to have conversations rather than events. So we don't want to call Mumbai Climate Week as an event. 17th, 18th, 19th of February in 2026, a few days from now, is when the 3-day conversation will peak at one level. For us, the Mumbai Climate Week began way back. Every little action, every little do that people kind of engage in is part of the Mumbai Climate Week. For us, the 17th, 18th, 19th would be a pause to halt, to look at what all have we achieved. And then between year one to year two, set certain benchmarks to say what more can we achieve, what we've learned, how do we take it forward to the next level. That's part two. Answering also, how do we see impact? Because for us, this is not just a photo op This is not about the four people who speak, but it's also equally important that the 40 people who are listening, can we also ensure who are these people? That's one part. Second, it's also a kind of a melting pot for people across policy, governments, corporate sector, civil society, citizens, the young and the old, and we've brought in a mix of each of these. What we've learned is we've picked up threads from different sustainability, climate action gatherings which have taken all over the world. And then we've said what works best for a city like India, what works best for the global south. And we love the idea the way the London Climate Week and the Mumbai and the New York Climate Week have been. And we curated it to what the Indian context can be, how Indian people could respond, how the global south can come in. And that's how we've created the Mumbai Climate Week. So it's a mix of everything, but it's going to be an ongoing conversation in action. Hope leads to action is how we've defined it.
That is indeed an interesting, again, concept. Hope leads to action, and Mumbai really needs that. India really needs that. Actually, the world really needs climate action. But how will this Mumbai Climate Week be concretely different from the other events and convenings that have been going on, whether it's in New York, whether it's in London? What is it that will stand out for us in terms of, you said there are different thematics. If you can tell us what will be concretely different about the Mumbai Climate Week.
So I quickly step into the thematics. What we've done
Yeah.
is, this being the inaugural year, we do not want to be broad and shallow, but look at narrow and deep. So we looked at three thematics: urban resilience, energy transition, and food systems. That's one part. But within this, we've set certain benchmarks to say what are we hoping to achieve in the next 3 months, in the next 1 year. We're not looking at the next 50 years. We're looking at short term goals as well. And those get outlined, those get defined. That's one part. We're also creating opportunities for innovators. Uh, these from the space of climate action, and then they get showcased. Then they get married onto climate financiers and funders. That's two. We're also creating opportunities for startups, which may happen in different climate weeks and opportunities. But here we're looking at solutions which can be impactful. Third, we are also creating opportunities for grassroots solutions. Now, a lot of grassroots solutions do not get platforms as such on global level. Here we are offering them this platform to say, can we look at showcasing? Can that be replicated? Just to give you an example, we talked about Mumbai, but the Mumbai Climate Action Plan is one of the most fantastic city-led initiatives led by the municipal corporation. Now, if something like this can be replicated in some of the global south cities with the help, with collaboration, so two things here. That's where one of the impact areas we look at. Second, we're actually looking at collaboration. This should be a platform for other cities to come together, not just come and talk and go, but come together to say, what is it in for me and what can I give back? Over and above this, we're creating a citizens platform here. Apart from action that happens across the city, be it cinema and climate, mental health and climate, sports and climate, art and climate, food and climate, we are looking at actually getting citizens, people like you and me, to have a voice. So at this climate week, we are curating 5 minute slots for anybody and everybody who has a voice, who feels there's something that they want to say. They get to speak free. That gets recorded, that gets disseminated. That's also curated at a space where anybody can walk in, listen into them, and then go out and say, look what I heard. It also builds in a sense of confidence. It also reduces the deficit of trust that a lot of citizens have towards gatherings such as these. So for us, this actually is an opportunity for citizens also to come forward to say climate is no longer just about climate. That's one. It's about everything that we do. Second, climate, the perception is climate is very elitist. No, it's not. We'd like to make it more friendly for each one of us.
Thanks. And that's a very good segue actually into what I wanted to ask you next, because if we are talking about bridging from the grassroots right up to, the conversations at the highest level and not keep it elite, then tell us a little bit about the partnerships itself that you put together, whether it's, how is the BMC, the Maharashtra government, UNICEF, NSC, corporates, people, everything coming together. So how is the heavy lifting being done here? Who is looking at, how are you looking at building these partnerships and how will they work together?
So very early when we started planning the Mumbai Climate Week, we felt that there is also subject specialists that we require, and we brought in some very good organizations which was in early part of June last year, to say what is it that we'd like to talk about. There's a lot of time that got spent in narrowing down the subjects and the double clicks. That was one. Second, we also opened it up with certain benchmarks to civil society organizations to say, what is it that you'd like to do? For us, this is an inclusive climate week. So when anybody is even hosting an event, our first fundamental rule was it should not be ticketed. In the sense, it should not be priced. It should be a walk-in, as long as there are filters to ensure safety, security, and a certain decorum. So, subject-wise, that's one. The partner organizations that came in with strengths. With each partner organization, the ground rule was the doors should be open. If there are more people coming in, we are welcoming them. As long as there are filters, as long as there's a common, once we had the common foundation framework in place, everybody who aligns it is on board. As I said earlier, Mumbai Climate Week is being led by Project Mumbai, but it belongs to each one of us. So we started off with 4 or 5 different organizations. Today we have close to 75 organizations, each one of them coming on board to say, I'd like to do this. And every day as we speak, in the 45 minutes that you and I will be speaking, I know there are at least 20 more mails that are coming in, and we've got 20 more days to go. Every day, there are people wanting to be a part of the conversation, which is the most exciting part of a climate conversation. A conversation cannot be just between two people, it needs to be in many, so that so many different ideas come out. And that's what the exciting and the most encouraging part of a climate week is. Through all this, what we are also hoping to do, so yes, managing them is not very easy because each one comes with a certain benchmark of what they have in mind. Having said that, there are certain ground rules that we've created, there are certain value systems that we've been creating, and each one does get aligned to all these. Where does friction not take place? In every joint family, there are frictions, but these are points of view, and every point of view is encouraged, is heard, and then taken forward. So, our strength lies in all of us coming together, in the solidity of so many organizations. UNICEF is coming together to bring a youth innovation challenge. Organizations like HT Parade, ICC, WRI, UNDP, UNEP, Shakti Foundation, Eversource, Rain Matter Foundation, you name it, and these organizations have come forward. And every second day, they're saying, "Can we try this as well?" On ground, there is NGMA, which is the National Gallery for Modern Art, saying we'd like to showcase art exhibitions. There are colleges. That's another interesting aspect. We said, what about the youth? So we're creating one of the most interesting, innovative ideas, getting an academic sustainability hub. Students are the strength and the backbone of implementation. What we've done is we've got colleges together and say, can we create, and that's the other part, that can we create a oh wow out of the climate week so that it the noise of a climate week, the ripple effect continues for some more time till the oh wow happens again. So through the academic sustainability hub, we are getting some solid organizations who are already keen and engaged in sustainability and putting together a hub. So IIT Bombay, the Mumbai University, and Project Mumbai are now putting together a basic framework of the hub, and more organizations are already on board. So Tata Institute is on board, CEPT is on board, DY Patil is on board, MET is on board. Other colleges are coming on every second day. There is again a set of institutions saying we'd like to do. We are looking at operational integration, academic integration, and research based integration. And in all this, we are also keeping student at the core of the sustainable action to say if each student starts giving 1 hour of his time towards sustainability, that would mean 52 hours in a week. And if there are 1,000 students, that's 5,200 hours get contributed. Collectively, can we create the largest time bank of giving, which is what I said, kindness earlier, but a largest time bank of giving towards sustainability. That becomes another measurable kind of a space. This year, if I've given 5,200 only from one institution, can I up it up to 10,000 next year? And collectively, can we start building? And this can get replicated anywhere else in the world. So this is none of these are IPs that we'd like to own to say this belongs to me. Climate belongs to all of us.
Climate belongs to all of us, but climate is also messy. It's not. It's not. It brings together all the pressure points across, I think, our economic and our political and our social lives. So one of the things I wanted to ask you really is, given that you came with a specific kind of civic optimism, you've been talking about people first movements in Mumbai as Project Mumbai and yourself, but what did you have to then? I'm sure there were things that you had to unlearn, that when you were leading this initiative, and what was that unlearning about?
So the unlearning is exactly what you said. Climate is messy. There are agendas. There could be hidden needs and requests and challenges. There could be pressure points. But where do such pressure points not exist? For us, the idea is also to address the elephant in the room and to come to a consensus. There would be 2 points of view. For instance, there's always a challenge between cutting trees versus development, especially in a city like Mumbai when we are talking about so much of infrastructure. But till the time two people with diverse opinions don't come on the same table to talk and have a point of view, somewhere somebody gets convinced. We cannot always be at loggerheads. We need to move forward. We need to get the younger generation. So for us, the Climate Week is not only about those who are converted, it's about those who have no awareness. Can we build awareness towards the subject? After that, let the decision take over. To say, I was not even aware. A lot of people make an opinion or pass an opinion or a judgment without even knowing, because thanks to social media, Climate Week, the Mumbai Climate Week is to get people to be aware of these issues and then make an informed decision. Then they like it, hate it. So when the conversation happened, to invite citizens to come and talk. One of the worries was, what if somebody comes out and starts shouting and raises a point which is in a much more parliamentary manner?
Hmm.
The person has a right to do that. Unparliamentary, definitely not, but everybody needs to have a voice. At least that way we get to hear what are the angst. And then if there is a solution, get people together, say there was a point that was raised. He may not have an institution to support it, but he's a voice. And that's what is the strength of the Mumbai Climate Week. Everybody has a voice. The opportunity is what we are trying to create.
But there must have been pushbacks, right? When you go for something like this, and you're trying to bring together so many different kinds of people and so many different kinds of ideas. What is the hardest pushback, for instance, that you've got? From the
I
climate community. I mean, from which aspect of society did you get the hardest pushback?
I think I'm going to be surprising you by saying that there were no pushbacks. So, conversational pushbacks are always that should a climate week be hosted in a fancy venue? Now, if we are doing something that is a genuine question mark which needs to be addressed, but
Absolutely.
host an initiative which is massive where we have people coming together. Doing it in an open space is not a good idea, because to create it in an open space where there's a likelihood of protocol related matters coming in will add to additional cost, which will add to additional climate impact and damage. But for us, everything is important. So we are opening it up to the city level to get citizens involved also. Let me also share with you that uh, often the pushback comes in from a government.
Hmm.
And here, in this case, there is absolutely zero pushback from a government. The government is a knowledge partner. There are officers from the government who are interacting with us. They're sharing points of view. They're coming on conversations and taking it forward, because there's also equal representation. This is not led by the government, or this is not owned by the government. This is owned by organizations partnered by the government. So the government comes in where state policies are required, where implementation is required, where scale is required. But
Yeah.
what planning is being done is by the private sector, is by citizen-led organizations, is by people like you and me. So it's, so far I've not seen any such pushback. There would be conversations that will happen, there would be resentments that will happen, there will be points of view, and there'll be opinion. But don't do this, I've not yet heard so far. And I'm sure I will not.
That is good to know, but also keen to understand. So, what were your steepest learnings, in the sense that, like you yourself brought up, this whether it should be at an elite kind of space, whether it should be in an open space. Because if you're talking about inclusion, how do you define inclusion for the Mumbai Climate Week? And where do you think there is a gap in learning, in the sense that there still is, you're still figuring out how to put some things together in terms of representation?
I think the steepest learning has been that there is still a gap between uh, the actionable areas that climate organizations are working and what's happening on the ground. I think that gap needs to be reduced, because life on the ground is relatively different. A lot of organizations that we've interacted with are doing some fantastic work, but these are very research based work that's going on. sometimes they're not fully aware that on ground people work differently, think differently, experience things differently. And that gap has to be bridged, which is where we felt that it has to be a little less elitist now, with due respect to the work people are doing. And that's possibly the space that Project Mumbai comes in. We are a catalyst. We work at the intersection of public private people partnership. And more organizations need to realize that for anything that they're working on, collaboration becomes very important. They need to work with grassroots organizations also. Similarly, grassroots organizations to scale up what their work is need to work with organizations which are looking at policy related scalability models. So that handshake movement has not really happened. We are hoping that this becomes a kind of a space where people start talking to each other more frequently. It's not talking when only there's a conference. This is not seen as a photo op. This is not what we want to do. We'd like this to be an ongoing conversation where more partnerships happen, partnerships between cities across the global south, partnerships between cities within India, partnerships between the local led institutions and organizations which are working at a global level, partnership between government and other institutions. So more and more people should get to meet each other. Networking is one way of putting it, but beyond networking, can we look at something more substantive to say, I look forward to, and let's make things happen.
Thanks, because as a partner of Mumbai Climate Week, we are very grateful that this is the kind of thinking that is going in, and it's been a fun ride so far working with you. Shishir, so we've been talking about Global South. It's being invoked in your comments as well as at the Mumbai Climate Week, but that is a broad label. So, how do you think, what do you think a city like Mumbai can teach or caution the rest of the world about when it comes to climate action, especially to the Global South?
Archana, the most exciting part of hosting the Mumbai Climate Week in Mumbai is that this has a slice of everything that the global south brings in. It's an international city. It has cinema. It has business, which is climate finance. It has a melting pot of people and culture. Um, it's possibly the only city in the country which has a forest within the city. It has a college, which is possibly the only in the country which has a lake, a natural lake within the city and within the college premises. It has a fantastic coastline, and it's a very safe city. So it's a mix of everything, and it's a food city. So as I said, climate is not just about discussing climate at the core; it's discussing people. And then when we talk about things like the climate action plan, it has challenges like flooding coming in, it has challenging like weather related conditions, employment, livelihood, everything that the city offers, and solutions are being worked on. So Mumbai can be a discussion platform. Mumbai can be a solutions platform, but Mumbai can be a great host. So the idea of Mumbai Climate Week in the Global South is to get people here to talk and to get to learn also. There's something that possibly Brazil is doing so well that we could bring it here and share, and other cities can follow. There's something that possibly a state like Odisha might be doing, which is interesting and can be taken forward. Or there could be water related solutions that Rajasthan is working on, which other countries can look at. So, our idea also is to bring in implementers on a platform. Earlier, which I said, it's not about the four people who are talking, but the 40 who are listening. Can we create implementers of those 40 who are listening so that they go back and say, I learned something very interesting. I'd like to try this out. So, there, Global South becomes a it's almost like a conversation beyond boundaries now. We don't see this as a global south now. We'd like to pull down these silos. We are hoping, we are ambitious. So, to one of your questions, what are the challenges? Yes, we are a much smaller organization hosting out something very, very big. So, funding is a challenge for a conversation like this. How do we raise money? But that's fine. What's more important is we're raising hopes, and money will follow. There are people's time that we are getting. There is a belief that's coming in. Globally, there's response that coming in. The Earthshot Prize is excited to be here and showcase their work through the Mumbai Climate Week. There are other global organizations joining in, and as each one comes in, they're also bringing in a bit of the confidence and faith to say, I think. So what? It's the inaugural edition. I think there's always a way to start somewhere, and that's what is exciting us.
What will then success look like for Mumbai Climate Week? Not this year necessarily, but 5 years down the line, because we're talking about iterations. And so, what would make this worth make this worth doing for you?
Success would be in two parameters. One is that we set, in fact, three parameters. I would put it that way. That one is to set goals, even if there are 10 goals, for instance, that we look at. If half of those goals are met in the certain timelines and parameters that we're talking about, it could be, let's say, today, the current challenge that India is talking about is air quality. If we manage to set certain benchmarks for the air quality index and meet half of those benchmarks, it's a great success because it's better than zero. As in the benchmarks, that's one, the goal setting. Second is, as the state of Maharashtra and the chief minister, when he extended his partnership, he said Maharashtra would like to not just be a host, but would like to raise the bar of its own implementation and act. And there, if each one who comes in starts raising the bar of what they are doing, that's a certain success that I would see. Third, and most importantly, so none of these are in the order that I'm mentioning. Third is citizens' faith. There is a huge amount of trust deficit in nothing happens. Now, if platforms like these can get created and get replicated anywhere else in the world, where citizens also participate, where deep dive organizations come in, but citizens start believing that these conferences and these meeting points can lead to great conversation, that would be a great amount of success for us.
If that is what is defining success, then if you were to speak directly to one stakeholder, say, and I'll end my questions with this, but whether, when you're speaking to a stakeholder, whether it's a municipal worker in Mumbai or whether it is a teenager who's coming in or who's a corporate funder across the board, what would you say to convince them that Mumbai Climate Week isn't just noise, that there is more that will happen here?
My humble request, suggestion, appeal, ask to all of them is, um be open to being part of a conversation. It need not only be that you are a speaker, you could also be a listener. But I think it's equally important to be a listener, because once you listen, you get to understand, and understanding is building awareness, and that awareness leads to implementation. So, a conversation is not only about one person talking. As I keep reiterating, that it's about all those who are listening also. We want more and more people to be listening, and we want awareness to grow in terms of climate. Many people are still not aware what climate really means or what the impact is. Something, as in a parting, I would say that when we started talking about various subjects, we said mental health and climate, and somebody said, "What has mental health got to do with climate?" But
Of
then,
course.
when we started explaining this, I never realized that's what Climate Week would like to bring in sports and climate. That how does sports impact climate? So a lot of these elements are what we are trying to bring in through climate conversation. Suddenly, people would say, "Oh, I never knew." That's what the strength of the Climate Week is. Now that you know, let's join the conversation.
Thank you so much, Shishir. It was such a pleasure. And thank you for all the honest answers, for taking the time to speak to us. And as partners, we look forward to being there at the Mumbai Climate Week and working with you to make this happen. And from both of us, I think all we can say to our viewers and listeners is welcome. Please join. Please come along. Let's listen. Uh, let's build a conversation and then action. And here's to a successful Mumbai Climate Week. Thank you so
Archana, as
much.
I always say, excited to have as many people, y'all are anyway on board, welcoming as many people who see a common vision, but let's make things happen.
Amen. Thanks a lot, Shishir.
Thank you very much.